Is this pardon of a president's son unprecedented in American legal history?
Yeah, I believe it is. It's no surprise to anyone, really, in Washington, despite all the protestations that the president gave on prior occasions that he would never do that. We all knew it was just a matter of time because Joe Biden has never acknowledged or recognized really the wrongdoing by his son and the cover-up that occurred both inside the Justice Department and the FBI to try to prevent the eventual criminal indictments.
Now, he says that these were politically motivated indictments from the DOJ, and that was a kind of justification for his pardoning of all the crimes that he may have committed in the last 11 years. What do you make of that as a legal argument?
Well, that's a ridiculous argument. There are folks sitting in federal prison right now for having lied on the form you fill out when you register to buy a gun in the United States. There are people in prison right now for not having paid their taxes. And, you know, the statement by the president is actually kind of astonishing. He tries to minimize this by saying that Hunter Biden was just simply late on paying his taxes. No, he was indicted for 4 years' worth of not paying his taxes and filing false tax returns. Not just not paying taxes, but filing false tax returns. And keep in mind that he should have been indicted for another 2 years' worth of not paying taxes, but the Justice Department, either through intentional misconduct or incompetence, allowed the statute of limitations to run on another 2 years of his not paying taxes. And keep in mind also, you know, the president says, oh, it was selective prosecution, his son, these kind of charges would not have been brought against anyone else. The most serious charges that should have been brought, for which there was overwhelming evidence, was violation of FARA. That's the Foreign Agent Registration Act. You know, you have to register in the U.S. if you're going to be representing a foreign government or a foreign company, and he clearly violated that, and yet he was never criminally indicted for that, and that despite the fact that this Justice Department has, in the past 4 years, indicted multiple individuals for violating that law. His son got sweetheart deals all along from the Justice Department.
Obviously, the president has the right to do this legally, constitutionally, but what does this look like from a broader perspective? Does this set a precedent for future presidents to, I mean, this looks sort of a bit corrupt, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it covers up, keep in mind, you know, folks are saying, well, this just pardons him for the tax charges and the gun charges. No, this is a very broad pardon that covers absolutely everything and anything that Hunter Biden did from 2014 forward. That means that all the payments, all the corruption, the payments from overseas, Burisma, from Chinese entities, none of that can be charged in any future indictment, which helps protect the entire Biden family from any kind of further corruption or other charges. And so this is a direct violation of the statement this president made not too long ago when he said, no one is above the law. Well, he's just proven that he and his family are above the law.
What are the legal implications for this when it comes to investigating Hunter Biden? Does this mean that he can now be questioned without the right to plead the Fifth? What does this mean for investigations?
That's actually a very good point that you've raised. Yeah, if he's investigated, if he's subpoenaed by any congressional committees, he cannot claim the Fifth Amendment to avoid answering any questions about things that went on during the time that he was representing all of these foreign companies. You know, Congress is going to have to decide whether to go forward and just, you know, leave off doing any kind of more investigations on this, or whether they want to keep going and looking at this. The one thing I think they ought to do is investigate to find all of the federal employees inside the Justice Department, the IRS, and the FBI who took steps to stop this investigation and to make sure it didn't go forward. None of those people should be working for federal law enforcement agencies.
Why do you think Joe Biden did this now? You know, a lot of presidents might have waited until their last day of term. Why did he do it so early?
Well, as you know, sentencing was going to be coming up for his son, and I think he just wanted to get this done and out of the way. And, you know, it's the start of December. Yes, he's got till January, but he tends to do things, I think, on the spur of the moment. I'm sure he thought about this for a long time, but apparently this weekend he really finally decided, well, I'm going to do it no matter what I've said before.
And what do you think about the political side of things? What does this make the Democrats look like? They talk a lot about Trump being, or trying to use the DOJ against his opponents, being a dictator, being corrupt, and so on. How does this make the Democrats look?
This just makes Donald Trump even more powerful. You know, he's been talking for the past 4 years about the weaponization of the Department of Justice, the corruption inside the FBI. Now you have Joe Biden basically pardoning his son from serious tax charges, getting out from under any further criminal charges, stopping any further investigation of Biden and his family. This will give added an incentive to the nomination and confirmation of Kash Patel, you know, who has come forward and said, I'm going to clean up the FBI. And we've heard the same thing from the nominee for the U.S. Justice Department. And this makes Donald Trump's hand even stronger.
Now, Hunter Biden isn't completely safe. He's immune from federal prosecution over the last 11 years. But of course, in terms of state law, the president has no power or jurisdiction. So
Correct.
Is there a chance that Hunter Biden could still be convicted under state law in Maryland or other places?
Well, only if he, for example, didn't pay state taxes that he was also due. On the other hand, both Maryland and California are very liberal jurisdictions. I doubt that even if there were possible tax charges there under state law, that any local prosecutors or the attorney general in either state would bring charges against him. So I think basically he got the Monopoly game equivalent of a get-out-of-jail-free card with this pardon.
And finally, what's your advice to the Republicans as they take over next year in terms of holding Democrats accountable, using the DOJ to properly investigate people who have been corrupt and to sort of depoliticize that institution?
Well, I think I've said before, they need to find out all of the individuals inside the FBI and the Justice Department who prevented this investigation from going on. They've got good leads on that. Remember, we had IRS whistleblowers come forward and talk about how their investigation was stymied, how they were prevented from executing search warrants. Every single individual inside a federal agency who was involved in trying to stop this investigation from going forward needs to be found, exposed, and frankly fired, because those kind of individuals that make political decisions when it comes to federal law enforcement should not be inside the federal government.